Okay guys, welcome back. It's time for another demo. And what I want to do next is I want to show you how to configure file service. This feature, as mentioned earlier, was introduced in 7.0, but it was enhanced in 7.0 Update 1 as we mentioned in the lecture. So I'm going to show you what you're going to be doing in Lab 15. You need to understand that this lab will take close to an hour. And you want to be patient. This demo will be split into two halves. In the first half, I'm going to show you how to configure the appliances that control the NFS shares. Now that, of course, will take a while. We're talking about deploying 4 different appliances, 1 per host. Remember, we have a 4-node cluster. So deploying those appliances from OVF will take a while. At that point, I'm going to stop the actual demo, and then we'll pick it up once those appliances are ready to go. At that point, I'm going to show you how to create 1 NFS share. I'm going to show you how it works. I'm going to explain the concept of the containers inside. And then we're going to mount that particular data store. That share, I should say. Bottom line, in the lab, the only difference, you will use your Windows desktop as an NFS client. To save time, to do something a little bit different, I'm going to take another ES6 server, one that is not a member of that cluster, and I'm going to show you with one simple command how to mount the NFS share. Please remember what we mentioned in the lecture. You can set up NFS shares using either NFS version 3 or 4.1. And also remember, you could also use Samba. In my demo, I'm going to use NFS 3. All right, so let's talk about the first part. When you take a look at your lab book, the lab book will tell you, number 1, to go to your cluster. And when you go to your cluster, you want to go to the Configure tab just like I've done. You can see here, you're going to choose Services. And right here, you can see that, of course, this service is not enabled. Notice if I go to File Service, you can see it's disabled. And of course, the idea here is to enable it. So that's the first thing you're going to be doing. Now, at this point, you're going to click on Next. Now, you have 2 choices when it comes to deploying the appliances. In class, we're not going to be fetching the data over the internet. Instead, we have the files that you need in a folder. The book will tell you, of course, the location of the folder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose manual approach. Typically, this is, of course, what you use. If, let's say, your vCenter is not connected to the outside world, you're going to click on Browse. Now, in your desktop, let me show you this. You actually have a folder called Class Materials. If I go to Downloads, here you have a folder. You can see the name ends with OVF. So here's where you have the 6 files. You're going to need all 6 files. So let's go back to, not that, let's go back, of course, to the browser. We're going to click on Browse. And then at that point, once again, I'm going to go to the desktop. I am going to click on Class Materials. I'm going to choose Downloads. I'm going to select the folder for OVF. And I am going to select all 6 files. Like I said, it will take a while. I'm going to click on Next. Now, the idea here is you don't have to always have 4 appliances. Here is going to be 1 per host. So because I have a 4-node cluster, you better believe we're going to have 4 appliances. Please remember, these appliances will not be vMotion. If you put the host in maintenance mode, the appliance shuts down automatically. When you take the host out of maintenance mode, the appliance starts automatically. These appliances are not for you to manipulate, to manage. They're managed by a particular service within vSphere. Now, we've mentioned the name of that service in the lecture. So if you take a look, in a few more seconds, the system will ask me a few more questions. I'm going to show you the PDF, which is the equivalent of your ebook And we're going to take a look at exactly what you have to do. Remember, this is the first part of that particular lecture, or that particular demo, I should say. So let's take a look. Once again, this will take a while. So it's almost ready to go. And what I'm probably going to have to do is I'm going to have to put my glasses, because I want to make sure that I don't make a mistake. So sometimes you'll see me use my glasses. It's called getting old. So let's take a look. Once again, we're going to wait. Remember, I was saying that these appliances do not give emotion. What happens is, because you're dealing with objects here, after all, an NFS share is going to be an object. The object will be controlled by a container inside of one of those appliances. So if I put a host in maintenance mode, and it happens to have the appliance with the container that controls that share, that container, in quotes, will move onto another appliance. As you can see, I've mentioned again, this takes a while. So we're going to keep waiting. And again, it should be ready to go in a few more minutes. I guess in the meantime, what I could do is I could show you the PDF. Never mind, it's pretty much ready to go. So let's take a look. Here you can see that you get to answer a few questions. Now at the very top, notice it says, what is the name of your file service domain? Now let's take a look for a second at the actual PDF. You can see I have the book ready to go. And when you take a look, I'm talking about task number 2. So we were able to find the 6 files. And then obviously at this point, we're going to come up with that file service domain. It's going to be vclass.local, same as the DNS suffix. And again, our DNS server is 172.20.10.10. So very carefully here, I'm going to type vclass.local. Once again, the IP of my DNS server is 172.20.10.10. When it comes to the DNS suffix, we mentioned we're going to use vclass.local. And when I click on next, here, notice you have to select number 1, a port group that you're going to be using for these appliances when it comes to the network. We're going to use VM network. Now, it is important that you use that port group. If you use another port group, then the problem is you're going to have connectivity issues. Now in class, we always use class C. So this is going to be 255.255.255.0. And when it comes to the gateway in class, if I'm not mistaken, I'm going to verify it should be .10. Now let's take a look. It should be the same IP. There we go. As our DNS server. So if we go back again here, we click on next. And now the book will tell you what are the IPs of the appliances. And notice you see 4 entries because again, I have a 4-node cluster. So if you take a look, we're going to use 172.20.10.100. Then we're going to click on autofill. The numbers here are going to be sequential. And you need to take care of DNS ahead of time. So I'm going to click on lookup DNS. Notice, when it comes to DNS, the names for these machines, for these appliances, are going to be FSVM 01, 02, 03, and 04. Now we're going to click on next. And as I mentioned, I'm showing you the first part of your actual lab. We're going to click on finish. Now what we want to do is we want to wait a few seconds. And what you're going to notice is that a resource pool gets created automatically, as you can see on the left margin. That pool is called ESX-agents. And when you take a look, I expect to have there 4 appliances by the time I'm done. Now again, this part will take probably 15 minutes or so. So I would recommend that as you do the labs, instead of waiting here and sitting looking at this, perhaps this would be a good time to take a little break. Now that concludes the first part of the demo. I'm going to wait about 15 minutes. Then I'm going to show you the second part. Remember, the second part will start when I create the NFS share. And then again, I test it by using another machine to mount that share. Hopefully, again, this helps you understand what you're about to do. I'll see you in a few minutes. Have fun.